Welcome back. Now, various workers, including those who work for Eskom, Putco and now Transnet, have taken to the streets over wage disputes. The ongoing wage issues have impacted many civilians, with power cuts and, of course, transportation compounding the problem. Labour analyst Tony Healy joins me now to unpack the ongoing impact on our economy. Mr. Healy, thank you very much for your time here on ENCA. Let's start with the fact that, I don't know if I'm being fair in analysing that we've had more protests now. Maybe it's because of COVID-19 and the lockdown that restricted people from being able to do that. But this year, for instance, we've had Eskom. We now have Transnet. There's, for instance, Sibanye Stillwater. At some point, even the PSA said that they'd have their workers go on strike. So am I being fair in analysing that it's grown now, this trend?
Yeah, good afternoon. Absolutely right. And for the reasons you've indicated, is that because of COVID, there was, for understandable reasons, less industrial action. But now that we have a post-COVID environment, a lot of the pent-up worker and union frustration regarding conditions of employment, which have stagnated in the last couple of years, are coming to the fore now in the kinds of industrial action that you've rightly referred to.
And, looking at, for instance, your Eskom employees, I mean, that was unprecedented, right? Workers who signed a form to say that they offer essential services, workers who are really not supposed to stay away from work, going on strike anyway. So is it showing more and more that South Africans are, for lack of a better term, fed up?
Fed up, yes, and also showing a trend that something we saw a number of years ago. We went through a similar period where wage negotiations became characterized by what we call unprotected strike. So You're right to highlight the Eskom dispute. It was an unprotected or unlawful strike, in fact, as you said, because of the fact that they were essential workers. But we saw similarly in the recent Putco dispute, also an unprotected strike that nonetheless resulted in a wage agreement.
Is this, my concern is that eventually we'll see even more people who are essential service workers actually going on unprotected or illegal strikes. I mean, for instance, the Public Service Association, that union, has been warning that there'll be public servants who will, stay away from work. I mean, imagine nurses and teachers deciding that, because I'm not getting my salary increase, I will not offer this service. That would be a catastrophe. Do you think we're ever going to see that happening in South Africa?
Look, the potential certainly exists for industrial action in the public sector. The PSA itself is not especially known to be a union that supports unprotected or unlawful action. Their members may. We'd have to wait and see. But there's absolutely no doubt that when you look at the public sector and the potential for a strike in that sector, it will have an enormous impact on the country in the jobs that you mentioned. Nurses, doctors, municipal officers, etc. It's a big deal if the public sector goes on strike.